Put all of that to our guest then, Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, who joins us now live from the Conservative Conference in Manchester. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, Julia. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, you're saying today, basically, that you think that net migration, effectively is too high and perhaps we need to have a cap. I ask ministers this a lot. Who's been in government for the last 13 years? Can you help me? Because I can't find any notes on it anywhere.
Well, Julia, I think net migration is far too high for all the reasons you've just discussed. A country bringing in 600,000 people a year that's too much. It places unbearable pressure on housing, public services, and on integration into our country as well. We have done the big reform, which was leaving the European Union, taking back control of our borders, which has been proven to be the right decision and will be in the years ahead in an age of mass migration.
Sorry, you think we've taken back control of our borders? When did that happen?
We have.
I must have missed that
Julia,
memo.
because for the first time, ministers have control of the levers. What we need to do now is to use them, and that's the point I was making yesterday at conference. I want to see us get control of net migration and to bring it down. We've made the first big reform in saying that if students come to this country, unless they're here on long courses, they shouldn't be bringing their family members with them. Universities are in the education business, not the immigration business. If there are further reforms we need to do, and I think there are, then we should do them, because we've got to grapple with this challenge. We're ultimately a small country. We want it to be one where people can get homes and can be well integrated into British society.
Look, I would agree with all that, and I'm sure a lot of my audience and many of the public would agree with all that. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? If we've got a points-based system, following the Australian system, where we get to decide who comes to the country, are they of benefit, it's not benefit just to them to come, it's a benefit to the rest of the country, then how do we decide that? Because the points that you get, basically, if you're highly skilled and highly paid, come on in, yes, please, we'd like you. Though we've lowered the wage that people need to have, we're letting more and more people in, and we're constantly told, but we haven't got anyone here who'll do the job of being a carer. We haven't got anyone here who'll do these jobs. So we have to import people to pick the fruit and the veg and do all these jobs which apparently Brits are too lazy to do. But isn't that the basic flaw? And as Tom Slater just hinted at, we've got a situation where many of our businesses, many of our big corporations rely on low-paid, low-skilled workers to make a profit, subsidised by the rest of us, the taxpayers, subsidise the extra benefits for them, like the housing benefit, and we bring in more people competing with British people born here and more recent immigrants who will also have the right to be here, on housing and on jobs and on getting a GP appointment and a school place for their kids. But you haven't provided any of that extra infrastructure, and you just keep bringing more and more people in because the big corporations say, we'd like some more cheap labour, please. How does that benefit anyone in this country?
Well, I agree with a lot of what you just said, Julia. I don't think that importing foreign labour into this country, particularly low and medium-skilled people, is a long-term recipe for prosperity. It doesn't make people richer in this country. What we need to do is get some of the economically inactive people back into the workplace. You heard that this week, when the Chancellor and the Work and Pensions Secretary announced more changes to the welfare system so that people who are in the UK but not working can get back into the workplace and take advantage of some of the jobs that are out there for them. We're also ensuring that there is a greater focus on skills and apprenticeships, so that instead of people going to universities to do courses which may not ultimately benefit them, they can get practical vocational training, get into the workplace and do those jobs, which all too often we're relying on foreign labour to do as well. I think it's absolutely critical that we get a grip on net migration, because we want to encourage businesses to invest in their British workforce, to pay people more if necessary, but above all to skill them up and to invest in technology and automation as well. That's how you make a country more prosperous and more productive.
Yeah, well, here to all of that. The question is how you're going to do it. And we know one of our previous guests, Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, when he was Work and Pensions Secretary, did an awful lot to get a lot of families where they've been homeless for generations back into work and motivating people, and frankly, a bit of the stick as well as the carrot. But I wonder, given that your boss, the Home Secretary, Sir Braverman, can't even get her own civil servants back in the office Monday to Friday, how are you going to get other people to get off their backsides and into work, paying tax and contributing?
Well, yesterday the Chancellor set out further measures on welfare reform. which is all about saying to those people who can work but are not in work that you need to do so. And in communities right up and down the country, including where I represent in the East Midlands, we know that there are jobs available, and they're often jobs which are ultimately filled by foreign workers. We want to change the welfare system, just as we've done throughout our 13 years in office. As you said, Ian Duncan-Smith began this when we first came to office. We want to continue that reform of the welfare system, which only a Conservative government would do, to make sure that people are in the workplace and we're not having to rely on foreign labour.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, things got a lot better.
This, just as we are on illegal migration as well.
Things got a lot better, and then with lockdowns, things have got a lot worse since. Let me ask you about illegal migration as well. We've still got, plenty of people coming over every day, sometimes in their hundreds, sometimes even up to 1,000 in a single day on those boats across the Channel. There's been lots of talk about leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, lots of talk about the damage that mass migration, whether legal or illegal, does in terms of integration and multiculturalism and the pressures on our national culture from that. Has the government got a grip on this? Because this has been talked about so long. We all remember the Prime Minister standing in front of a podium saying, stop the boats. He hasn't stopped the boats. They've been cut down by, 20%. We don't know if that's the weather. We don't know what reason that is. Has the government really got a plan to deal with this? And would you support a plan that meant, not only shipping people off to Rwanda, but also leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, ignoring any ruling by the European Court of Human Rights, and even possibly looking for a rewrite on the International Asylum Convention?
Well, firstly, we do have a plan. I think we've got the most comprehensive plan of any European country, and it is starting to bear fruit. As you just said, the numbers this year are 25% down versus last year. And in the critical summer months, August and September, the numbers were actually 40% down on last year. Of course, that's just the beginning. The public want us to stop the boats. That doesn't just mean a 25% reduction. We've got to go further than that. But the measures we've put in place, like our deal with Albania, like tougher approach to illegal working here in the UK, like returning more people who shouldn't be here back home to their home countries, these things are starting to make a difference. The critical change, of course, will come with the Rwanda policy, which is being considered in the Supreme Court next week. If we can get through that, then we'll have those flights off to Rwanda, and we will truly smash the people smuggling gangs once and for all, because we will instill deterrence into the system, and we can make full use of the Illegal Migration Act, probably the most robust piece of immigration legislation in my lifetime, which says that if you come here illegally, you'll be detained and you'll be removed swiftly to a safe country like Rwanda. As to your question on the European Convention on Human Rights, look, we are confident that we will win in the Supreme Court, so that is the focus of our attention right now. But I've been clear, as indeed has the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary, that this is absolutely critical to us. A sovereign country has to control its borders, and will do whatever it takes to do so. It's
certainly going to be critical to an awful lot of voters. Well, I think we all wish you well. Robert Jenrick, Immigration Minister, thank you so much for joining us. They're live from Manchester. Well,